Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and a debut on the channel today for the constructor arctan and a puzzle called 45-45-90. And I think that is because there is some sort of triangular elements going on. We've got the classic circles in the grid today, and a very unusual rule set. And this puzzle, I think it's quite new. And we had a very strongly worded recommendation from none other than James Sinclair, suggesting that this is an absolutely brilliant puzzle. And that is why I'm going to try it for you in a moment or two's time today. I'll read you the rules, obviously, then. But I've got a few things to mention first. There is a crossword video on the channel. We released it, as usual, this morning. It's part of a series that's been running for very nearly a year, in which either Mark or I tackle the Times crossword live. It's actually one of my favourite videos to record because it puts my brain in a different space. Yeah, but that's there. If you enjoy cryptic crosswords, you might enjoy that one. And also, of course, Riffclown's Sudoku Hunt is now out and available to all our patrons over on Patreon. If you do support us there, thank you so much. You keep the channel going, literally. And it's well, lots of people are going to enjoy Riffclown's Hunt. Let me see if I got a graphic for you. There we go. The Sudoku gallery is now definitely open. So do check it out and see how you get on. Chance to win the competition, which it runs until the 20th of February. Now, other things to mention. I need to apologise about last night's video. Have I got a splodge on my glasses? Sorry, I've got a splodge on my glasses. I can't possibly... I mean, my scanning's bad enough when I can actually see, but I can't have a splodge on my glasses. That would be very disastrous. No, I have to apologise. There was an audio issue in last night's video, and that meant that I actually had to re-upload the video. It was too bad an audio glitch. It sort of occurred about 20 minutes into the video, and then the audio was out of time with the video, and it made it essentially unwatchable. I don't know why it happened. I don't know how it happened, but we did fix it. So if you did get annoyed at my echoing or whatever it was, then do. And this was the puzzle, of course, Senator Gronk's Sudoku, as Maverick flies over. There is now a perfect version, well, almost a perfect version on the channel, but there is a number of you noted that I overlooked a possibility that the dastardly Senator Gronk had included in the puzzle at the start of the solve yesterday, and I just wanted to deal with that because it is a very cool point. So if you remember, this is spoiler, so if you haven't seen the puzzle, don't listen to this bit, but basically we worked out that there had to be 5 low digits along this German whisper line, because we knew that the 5 had to be a pseudo digit, and the 5 would either convert to a 1, a 2 or a 3 depending on where it went. So we knew that the sort of disposition of values along the whisper was like this, and then I said, but the 6 now needs to be in an orange square, and 6 has to be surrounded on a whisper by 2 values of 1, and therefore the 6 has to go here. And several of you were clever enough to say, hang on, Simon, why couldn't you put the 6 there? I didn't spot this, obviously. And if you put the 6 there, then you could put a normal 1 there and a naughty 5 converted to a pseudo digit there, therefore having the value of 1, and this isn't broken. This isn't immediately broken. And that is a very valid point, and I just wanted to, I didn't see it during the solve, so I wanted to explain how you could continue, if you had this clever idea, what's to prevent this from being the correct answer. And it takes a little bit of thought, actually. And the key, I think, is to think about how this box is going to work. Now, this is obviously a high digit. Let's put 7, 8 or 9 in there in this instance. Now, my first thought was, this thermometer now cannot work, because we know that the pseudo digit in this box is going to convert itself into a 2, and the pseudo digit cannot be in these 3 squares. So that means that this thermometer has to have a real 2 on it, which actually would have to be there because it can't, this square can't be a 1, because this would be the 1 in this iteration. And now there has to be a pseudo 2 on it as well, and the thermometer therefore can't increase. And I thought that was a really beautiful reason to explain how this didn't work. But then I realised, but hang on, nothing in the rules actually says that the pseudo, the real 2 can't be the pseudo digit and convert itself into a 2. Now that's very annoying as a thought, isn't it? But the reason this doesn't work, and we're getting into some quite cool logic here, is that where are we going to put 3 and 4 in this box? If we say that this is not only a 2 but also the pseudo 2, you can see 3 and 4 in this box now have to go there because we haven't put them in yet, so they must be sequentially along the thermo. And now there's no way that you can make this black dot exist. It can't have a pseudo digit on it, so we can't avail ourselves of trickery that way. And if it can't have a low digit on it, and it can't have 1 because it would then be a 1-2 pair, the minimum digit you could then put on it would be 5. And there's no combination that will work. So that is how you could disprove this option. But all of that is obviously predicated on spotting that you could put this naughty little 6 here, which I didn't see. So I wanted to give Senator Gronk props and say, yep, you outfoxed me well and truly there. But if you were annoyed with me for missing that point, hopefully that at least clarifies how it would have been possible to eliminate that as a possibility. Now, after the mea culpa, let us move on to some birthdays. And I'm going to start with Sid over there in New York City. And this is from your best friend. I think it's Ardesh. Is that how I have to pronounce that? Ardesh? It looks more like a dash to me, but I think I meant to say it Ardesh. I hope that's right. Ardesh described it as being how Sean Connery would pronounce a word. I can't remember what the word was, but it began with B. It was just like, no, I don't understand. Anyway, Ardish is in Houston in Texas, so can't be with you today, but he wanted to know that he misses you, and apparently you're both keen watchers of Cracking the Cryptic, so thank you to you both. And Sid in New York City, many happy returns. I've no doubt you'll be able to get hold of a fantastic chocolate cake. You should get that Brooklyn one we saw the other day. What was that called? I can't remember, but it looked sensational. Next, we'll go over to Catalonia, a place I'd never been but would love to go. And Christina down there has turned 21 and apparently really enjoys watching Cracking the Cryptic. So Christina, thank you for watching, and many, many happy returns on your 21st birthday. I hope, obviously, you're able to have a suitably super cake. And then finally, Ollie. Your partner Lisa wrote to us, Ollie, and said it was your birthday and you'd appreciate a shout out. I think you're gathered with family today expecting Grandma's chocolate cake, which sounds very good, and I may have been meant to read this shout out in the crossword video earlier. I know that you both watched that video, so I'm sorry if I've messed that up. But anyway, Lisa sends you her love and suggested that if we ever did a meet-up, Mark and I, for London folk who are interested in Cracking the Cryptic, that the two of you would be there. So there would be 4 of us. Anyway, many happy returns, Ollie. Now, let's turn our attention to 4590 by Arctan and see why James Sinclair thinks that this puzzle is so absolutely brilliant. These are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so that means we've got to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. Digits along an arrow, sum to the digit in that arrow circle. We've got 2 tiny arrows today, so if this was, I was going to make that a 3, which would have been very silly. Let's make that 4 and that 5. 4 plus 5 equals 9, so that would be a legitimate way of filling the arrow. Now, here's the circles rule. Digits in yellow circles indicate how many yellow circles contain that digit. So, if that was a 9, then the puzzle would actually be broken. And the reason is that if we do put a 9 here, we have to put 9 9s in circles. And a quick scan of the grid suggests to me that, well, there are only 9 9s in Sudoku, so every 9 in the puzzle would have to be in a circle, and row 1's 9 is definitely not in a circle, so that is not a 9. So that's the sort of logic you can start to do when you think about these circles. It then says, additionally, and this is where the rules get strange. Additionally, digits in yellow circles must be grouped into pairs. Each pair forms opposite corners of a square, one other corner of which must be the sum of the pair. And then there's an example. It says, e.g., if row 4 column 7, that's that one, and row 7 column 4 were a pair, so if these two are paired up, I must be in a funny version of Sudoku Pad today, because I don't have my usual bright green available, which is somewhat discombobulating. Let's see if I can recreate it actually. How do you do this? Do you hold it down or something and then double click it? Yes, Sven, you are a mighty man. And then I can choose something very dark green like that colour. Is that beautiful? It's not very beautiful, but it's what I was after. It's more what I was after, so we'll use that. So, okay, so if these two, right, so if these were a pair, the sum, okay, so whatever these two digits sum to, so let's make them 2 and 4. If that's 2 and that's 4, the sum of those is 6. And you can see these form the opposite corners of a square, so that's the square we're thinking about. And if the sum of 2 and 4, the 6 has to go there or there, is what the rules are saying. Either in row 4 column 4 or row 7 column 7. One of these has to be a 6. Not both, but at least one of them. Yeah, let me just... Different pairs cannot use the same square for their sum. Different pairs cannot use the same square for their sum. Oh, thank goodness. I was going to say, can we find an example of that? There is an example of that. It says, e.g., if row 3 column 4, that one, and row 4 column 3 were also a pair, right, so let's make those two, I see. So if these were the corners of a square, that square would look like this, wouldn't it? And this square would be available to be the sum of these two digits. So if these were sort of 1 and 8, we could write 9 into there, but what it's saying is no, you can't do that. If you've actually, we have to make these add up to 6 to make this work, so like that. So this is invalid because 2 plus 4 equals 6, so we could put 6 at the corner of the orange square here, but we can't then also put that, make this one sum in this square, so we can't reuse the corners of squares. It is possible, and then it says, okay, so it says if row 3 column 4 and row 4 column 3 were also a pair, then row 4 column 4, this cell, could be used for the sum of this pair, which we just said, or the sum of the previous pair. Yes, that's which we just said, but not both. So that's exactly what I said. Okay, it is possible that the sum for one pair of circles may itself be in a cell which is already circled. Yeah, okay, so I think that's just saying that that could be a 6. That's already circled. That's fine. Which circles are paired and where their sums go must be determined by the solver. And that is all of the rules. Do have a go. This is meant to be brilliant. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And oh yes, and that was one thing I was going to say. I think this is called 45, 90 because we're drawing squares. Obviously, if this is the digit, this is sort of forming a right-angled triangle, isn't it? So I think that's why the title is what it is. Now, okay, so my one tip for circles puzzles is basically to add up the number of circles, because that will give us, hang on, let's double click, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is what I got. I'm going to actually do that again, because it is, yeah, 16. I got it twice now, so it's quite unlikely to be wrong. If you do get that wrong, obviously everything you do after that will be completely bogus. Now, what does that mean? 8 is not going to work, is it? For the same reason that 9 isn't going to work. So what I'm trying to do now is to think about how I can make these circles contain digits that are going to work regarding the total number of circles. And obviously, the moment you put a digit like 8 into a circle, you know, of the 16 circles in the grid, 8 of them have to contain the digit 8, because that's how circles work. So if we did put an 8 in a circle, the other 8 circles that didn't contain 8 would have to contain digits that sum to 8. So it could be 1, 3, 4, for example. But 8 won't work, because 8 has the same problem as 9, which is that row 1 and row 9 definitely don't have it's impossible to circle an 8 in those two rows. So the maximum number of circled 8s we could include in this puzzle is 7, because there's only one 8 in each of these 7 rows. So the maximum digit we can now include in a circle is a 7. 7 might be possible. There is a circle in every row and I think every column. Right, but the one thing we're going to have to be careful about with 7 is its pair, isn't it? Because we can't... Oh, that just doesn't work at all. Right, you can't do 7. You can't do 7. In fact, 6 is quite... even 6 is quite difficult, I think. Unless I've misunderstood the rules, which is now possible. But 7 I didn't think could work, because I have to pair up. Every time I put a 7 in, I have to pair the 7 up with another circle, and then I have to put the sum of 7 and whatever's in that other circle at the other corner of the square. So if I was to pair this 7 up with a 3, there, for example, I've got to write 10 now into one of those two squares. I can't write 10 in. So the only digits that I could pair 7 up with would be 2 and 1. But I can't put more than 2 2s in circles and more than 1 1 in a circle. So there's no way of getting to 7. There'll be 7 7s in circles. I can pair 3 of them up only as a maximum. So the other 4 7s would be left lonely. And we don't want that. Now, if we put 6 in a circle, you could do that actually, couldn't you? Because you could do 6. You can't pair 6 up with a 4, because 6 and 4 is 10, or anything higher. But you could pair 6 up with 3, 2 and 1. And that would mean there were 3 3s in circles, 2 2s in circles, and 1 1 in a circle. And they would add up to 6. So every 6 would have a potential friend where the sum wouldn't be too large to breach the cap of 9, if you see what I mean. So is that the only solution? Because well, hang on. If we did that, so if we had 6, 3, 2 and 1 in circles, then there are still 4 circles. I see. Alright, so there's still 4 circles left over. And they'd have to contain the digit 4. And the 4s would all have to pair up together. And that still works, actually. That's lovely. So I don't know if I'm making this clear, but hopefully it is clear. So what I'm saying is, if you do include 6, well, we have to include 6 because we haven't got 9, 8 or 7 in a circle. And if we're going to, even if we included all the other numbers apart from 6, they would only add up to 15, and there are 16 circles. So there is definitely a 6. Now, if there's definitely a 6, you have to pair the 6 up with 3, 2 and 1. There is no other way of doing it, because every 6 needs to be combined with a digit that is that it can pair up with such that the sum of 6 and that other digit is not higher than 9. So 3 3s, 2 2s and 1 1 is the only way of doing it. And that leaves you 4 circles left over, which all then have to contain 4. And the 4s are going to be in pairs as well, so we could maybe have 4s like that or something. And then you put 8 into one of these squares, but not that one, because there are no 8s in circles. Right, so I tell you what, I love puzzles like this as well. These are my favourite type of puzzle, full stop. It's a puzzle where you can put nothing in the grid, but you have to think about it a little bit at the start in order to understand what's going on. But you sort of feel like you have a series of little epiphanies. And yeah, I think there's something very, very cool about puzzles that have this sort of flavour to them. Right, so now we know the total. We know what we've got to put in all the circles: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. That's the only way we can fill them. Now, what does that mean? And we know we've got to partner up the. Okay. Well, these two squares, they can't be 1s or 2s. These can't be 3s, actually. We've got a given digit. I know I tend to ignore them. So now I've got a 4, 6. Well, I'm just going to describe them as a pair, but they might not be a pair. Or they very well might not. Well, they can't be a pair. Where we pair them up, because they would add up to 10, and then we'd write 10 in one of those squares, and 10 is not a Sudoku digit. There is a knowledge bomb. Okay. I can't actually see how to do anything now. I know every one, there's only one 1 in circles. So the 1 pairs up with a 6. Both 2s pair up with. Okay, so we know the total combination of sums now as well, don't we? 6 and 1 is going to be one sum. That adds to 7. 6 and 2 2s, they add up to 8. 6 and 3 3s add up to 9. And 2 pairs of 4s that each add up to 8. Right, so the other thought I'm having now is, how do you... It must be true, mustn't it, that when we're making squares, not rectangles. Yes, okay. So for example, this digit here, I can't pair that up with that one, because that is not a square. So I have to find another circle on the same diagonal. Ah, right, okay, I understand. So that digit actually does pair. Ah, this is interesting. So this digit does pair up with either this one, or this one. And we know it doesn't pair up with that one. So it pairs up with one of those two. One of those two is the other of this one, the other of the pair. Yeah, I'm just going to double check that. There is no way you can, if you're trying to make a square. Yes, yeah, that's totally obvious. It's totally obvious. I just didn't think about it in this way. But obviously, if we're making a square and we're saying that the 2 circles you're pairing up are on opposite corners of the square, then this one, for example, has to pair up with something on a diagonal with it. It's forced. There is no other circle. You can't pick that circle, because obviously that's going to be rectangular, not square. So what we need, right, there's one. So this one, what diagonal can that be on? With another. So these two are paired up. That's just forced. They must be a pair. Yes, yes, okay. And where is the sum of these two digits going? Remember, the sum is at least 7. It's not going there, is it? Because this arrow adds up to at most 6. So that square contains the sum of these two digits, and that square is 7, 8, or 9. This is very cool. It's very cool. Oh, right, yeah, I've got this as well. Now, green can't pair up with this one, because if green paired up with this one, where's the sum going? Which is 7, 8, or 9. It's going on the arrow and would have to add up to less than itself. That won't work. So this one pairs up with that one, exactly. And then, yes, and now, this is brilliant. Okay, arctan, this is brilliant. It's a brilliant puzzle. So, because now, this is the square we've got for the greens, but that square can't be 7, 8, or 9. So there's a green that goes there that's 7, 8, or 9. And therefore this one, which also needs a friend, only has one source of friend. It must go there because it needs something on its own diagonal. So these are friends. Now so the square that we draw here, that one is not big enough. So that one is where the sum of these goes. Why is that got, why is that, oh, there we go, that's better. So if this is 4 or 6, this is not 4 or 6, is it? It must be a lower, oh no, it can be, it could be double 4. Oh, bother. It's definitely not 6. That's all you, oh, I see, so that's all we get from that. We can remove 6 from the counterpart, but you can't remove 4 in case it's a double 4. So this one, I don't know for sure that one of those is a 6. Although we have to get 6 6s into these 7 rows and 7 columns. So this one, actually now, sorry, I'm a bit stuck all of a sudden. I know these digits have to be no higher than 5. That's almost giving rise to this can't be 3. Same is true here. I might as well, just in case this is the point. I was thinking about this column, but I don't actually have 6 digits in that. That's a quintuple, all selected from low digits. So the 7, 8, 9 have to go in those 4 squares, but I don't know much about 7s, 8s, or 9s. Bobbins, I don't know what to do. I've suddenly just ground to an absolute halt, haven't I? I can't see. Oh, why is that one not? There we go. There's this sort of internal diamond. Can you see that like this? But along this internal diamond, it seems to me anyway that, I mean, even if I pick cells that seem restricted like this one, that could still pair up here. It could still pair up here. It could even still pair up there. And its sum would then go here. There just seems too much flexibility in the diamond, so maybe I've got to look at the colours. Do I know more about the either green, purple or blue? I mean, if this is 4, we do know that this is a 1-3 pair, and I know that would be 3, and I know that would be 1. And actually, if that's a 4, I know that would be 4. So I know that would be 8. Okay, that wouldn't be 8 in that situation. So this couldn't also be double 4, could it? Okay, well that's okay, that's something. So there is at least one 6 in between green and blue. One of these is definitely a 6, at least. Maybe both of them, but one of them definitely is a 6. Now, how does that help the world? Pregnant pause while I try and understand what on earth it is I'm meant to take out of that. One of these at least is a 6. I'm actually just trying to play through in my head, what if they both are 6s? And I'm struggling. If they're both 6s, is that doing something? It's not preventing. I don't think it is preventing this from being a 6. Although I'm not sure. Or maybe I've got to combine it with... Maybe I've actually got to combine it with this one, now I think about it. If that's a 6, does that prevent that one from being a 6? The reason I'm picking those two, let me just show you why I think that's an interesting question. If this is a 6, you can see that this is not a 6. So I was wondering, so if purple does have a 6 in it, then that purple 6 would have to be here now. So that would be a forced arrangement. But the reason that's very, or at least at first blush, makes me think there's something weird going on, is now I can only put one 6 in this row. Because these two corners of the diamond here, you can only put one 6 in them, can't you? Now we've got to make sure in this instance, this is very difficult. This is very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just difficult. Because this 6 and this 6 combine to remove all 6s from here. There was never ever a circled 6 in box 5. Yeah, this doesn't work. Ah, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. So if this is a 6, if this is a 6, this has to be double 4. And if that's a 6, does that also have the same? Yeah, so sorry, I realize that my brain's sort of is accelerating a bit, and I haven't finished speaking, and that's a terrible thing to do. Right, so let's just go through this. If this is 6, let's do it slowly. If this is 6, the point is that there now need to be 6 3x3 boxes in this puzzle that can definitely contain a circled 6. Otherwise you can't make this work. So if this is a 6, you can see that this square is not a 6. So now we're up to 2 boxes that definitely don't have circled 6s in them. And if you were to make this a 6, that increases, because now you can't put a 6 in here. That's a 3rd box without a 6 in it. And it's not possible to put a 6 in either box 6 or box 4, because the only places left for the 6s are the points of the diamond, these 2 cells. And they can't both be 6, obviously. So one of them is not 6, and this 6 is knocking out these 2, and this 6 is knocking out these 2. So either box 2 or box 4 couldn't have a 6 in it. So if we do make this 6, what we're saying is that this square cannot possibly be a 6. And then, so we're saying if this is a 6, how many boxes can have 6 in them? Well, this one can't, this one can't, and we've just worked out this one can't have a circled 6 in it. So every other box would need to have. So if we do make this a 6, every other box has to have a circled 6 in it. With this not being a circle. Oh, hang on. I want to leave the colour in there, but take the digit out. So, if this is a 6, we know, because this can't be a 6 and this can't be a 6, these must be double 4. That must be an 8. This is double 4. Does that do something to the world? Probably. I just can't work out what it is. So if this is 6, then I need a 6 in this box, which would be here. I need a 6 in this box, which would be here. I need a 6 in this box, which I don't... Well, it's one of those 2 cells. I need a 6 in this box, which would be here. So that would be a 6. I feel like I've got a lot of 6s looking at the middle box, but maybe that's wrong. Yeah, no, that's right. So we'd get virtually all of the 6s in the puzzle if this is a 6. But that's all predicated on that being a 6, which it doesn't need to be. It could be 4. But if it's 4... Okay, if it's 4, this becomes 8. Yes, okay, but if right, wow, okay, this is so clever. This has suddenly got very, very complicated, but it's really interesting. So what we've now decided is if this is 4, we know this is 4, this is 8, therefore, so it's not possible for blues to be 8, is it? This can't be double 4 as well. So either this square or this square is definitely a 6. And we've worked out that if this was a 6, we can basically pinpoint the position of all the 6s in the grid. Now I think because there's so much symmetry here, that's going to be exactly the same for this digit, i.e. if this is a 6 and one of these must be a 6, it's going to force everything around the grid as well, because if this is a 6, still this can't be a 6. Can that be a 6? I don't think so, because I think that's going to have exactly the same problem as we had before. So we've now, let's count the number of cells, or the number of 3x3 boxes now that can't have 6 in them. This is 1 of them. This is 2 of them. This is 3 of them. And in box 2 and box 8, one of those only could be a 6, so that it cannot work. So again, we reach the position where this can't be a 6. So if you do put 6 here, you've now got 1, 2, 3 boxes that can't have 6, and you need to put 6 everywhere else, which would have to be here, here, and you're going to get the same thing. Yeah, what this is proving, this is brilliant. It's brilliant. So that, right, so I'm going to formalize what I think the logic is now in terms of a complete string. The logic works as follows. It is not possible for these to, for green and blue to be all the 4s, because that puts 2 8s in this box. Therefore, there is at least 1 6, either here or here. But whichever one of these turns out to be a 6, actually, because you can't make this a 6 on top of that, whichever one of these is 6 forces the other one to also be 6. So these are both 6, and if these are both 6, this is never able to be 6. We know this can't be 6 because of all the work we've done when we tried to pair this up with 6 in either case. That cannot be 6. And now 1, 2, 3 boxes can't have circled 6s in, so every other box has a circled 6, which means this is a circled 6. It means this is a circled 6. Let's get rid of all the 6s that we can now. All of these can't be 6, but we need to put a 6 in this box, which must now be here. We need to put a 6 in this box, which must now be here. We've now got 4 6s looking at the middle box, so that's a 6 in the corner of that. We've got 4 6s looking at box 1, we get 6 in the corner. We've got 4 6s looking at box 9, we get 6 in the corner. Good grief. Good grief. And therefore, and we know these two have to be double 4, don't we? Because we can't pair the 3 and 2 up. We know that every low digit is paired up with a 6 and every 4 is paired up with itself. So this is double 4 adding up to 8. This is not 8 therefore, so 6. This square here is a 1 or a 3 only. This has got to pair up with this. Now, do we know the nature of this one? We know that's not 4. That's definitely true. Don't know if we know more than that, actually. I'm not sure. I've got to avoid... These shouldn't both be red, should they? I think I made them both red for a different purpose, but I was suddenly thinking they're not on opposite corners of a square, so that cannot work. Right, so the next job is going to be to work out, if we can, how these 6s pair up with each other. You know, which cells can we join them to? And that's, at first blush, that's not immediately obvious to me. Or perhaps a better question might be, can we work out which two of these unknown yellows are the 2 4s that pair up and add up to 8? That would be a really good question to know the answer to, wouldn't it? Okay, it would be a really, well, maybe I've got to use, okay, so if this is not 4, that's not 4 anymore, this is a 6 arrow, and that doesn't, okay, so this is not double 3 anymore because of this given 3 here, so this is down to 1, 2 or 5, so this should only have 3 options. This can't be 2 because this can't be 4, so this gets a little bit ameliorated. 4 comes out of these 2 squares, 4 comes out of these 2 squares. So now I've only got 2 4s left. Right, so those two have to be the paired up 4s, and they have to add up to 8, and they can't. This is so brilliant. This is just brilliant, isn't it? Because that has to be 8 now in the middle of the grid from virtually nowhere. That's not 4 anymore. So this is now 1 5 pair. Okay, 4 is coming off this arrow. I don't know if that's useful. So this can't be 2 or 3 or 4, I've just seen, because there's a 4 here. So this is also 1 5 pair. So they're both 1 5 pairs. Okay, that's interesting. Which, oh yes. Which cell does this bond with? Let's ask that question. It has to find a circle on its own diagonal. That is a 6 or a 4. Well, it can't get that one then, because that's not a 6 or a 4. And the only diagonal it's lending for, it's got recourse to, therefore, is this one. So that is grey, and there's a high digit in one of those squares. I said high digit. I mean, I did say high digit. That is not the same as Alexa. She always likes to get in on the good videos. Let's, not that they're not all good, but you know what I mean? Puzzles that are just absolutely incredible. Okay, so therefore, this, oh no, that one could join up with its friend here. So there's a grey in one of those, which is either 7, 8 or 9. But I'm not sure I know which. This one has to find a friend, and surely that friend is there. Yes, I can see how this is going to work now. These two have to pair up because this 6 needs something on its own diagonal it can pair with. So those two are a pair. Now that's interesting as well. The sum of these two can't go there because that one is already purple. So the sum of these two goes here. And that therefore, so this is not 2. This square is 7 or 9. Don't know if we know which. But now, let's keep going with this idea. So which one does this pair up with? It needs something on its own diagonal. The only thing it can avail itself of is that one. So let's use orange for these two. And their square can't be here. So their square is here. And this square again. Okay, so this can't be 2 either because that would cause this to be 8. So this is now 7 or 9. I've got a 7-9 pair in this box. I've got a 1-3 pair in... Oh, this is huge. I've done it. I think I've done it. Right, so I've got a 1-3 pair here. But let's firstly note those two now have to be friends with each other. So we'll just fill those in. But the crucial point here is surely that one of these is a circled 1. And if one of these is a circled 1, what does that mean? There can be no other circled 1s, can there? So this cannot be a circled 1 because there is only one circled 1. So that's a 3. And that goes with, okay, so that means that's a 9, which means this is a 7, which means this is a 1 by mathematics, which means this is a 3, which means that is a 9. That's beautiful. This is not a 3. That's definitely true. Have we used... that's not a... We can't have circled 1s. Just delete all circled 1s. They are impossible now. We've had 2 circled 3s. Oh, that one's got to be a circled 2. We've had all circled 1s. That can't be 8 because 8's already appeared. So this is an 8. So this is one 45-90 arrangement. We've had 1 circled 2, I think, only. So these two are different. Oh, this can't be 9, and it's paired up with this one. So that's got to be 8. So that's the second circled 2. So that's got to be a 3. That's got to be an 8. 6 and 3 add up to 9. So one of these is a 9. It's not the top one. So that one is 9. This has been put together. So look at this one. So stunning, isn't it? It's so stunning. And therefore, have we definitely done everything? I feel like I have. I've got to make sure all of these triangles have an answer. You know, they've all got to have a sum, but I think they do. I think they do. And that should mean it's Sudoku. A slightly terrifying thought. Okay, let's assume it's Sudoku then. What do we have to put in? 2 7s and 8s up here. So this is 2 7 8. That's not 8. We could, where should we go now? 1 3 7 and 9 into these squares. Yeah, nearly. 1 3 7 9. That can't be 9. This one can't be 1. Those two don't. Those seem to be able to be a lot of things. What about, oh, where's 4 in the middle box? We can just place it by Sudoku. So maybe we'll do some pencil marking of 4s. So these squares are 1 2 3 and 5, and that, oh, this is a naked single, that's a 5. This is not a 3, this is not a 1, this is not a 2, so we get chocolate teapotted there, I think. Yeah, we do. We get chocolate teapotted. Bother. What about this 5 though? Because now in this column we need 4, 7 and 8. So that's 7 or 8 at the top. Oh, where's 8 in the column? It's got to go at the top. So these are 4 and 7 now. Let's put that in. So these are 1, 5 and 9. Although I don't think we know anything about any of those squares, somewhat strangely. There's a 2 7 pair in this column, so we get the 8 down here. How many 8s have we got? 1, 2, several. We do have several, but maybe not all of them. No, maybe not all of them. Nearly all of them, but not quite. Not enough. So we're going to have to do more Sudoku, aren't we? It's outrageous, this. What about 1 2 5 7 in this column? Is that useful? Yes, as a 1 5 pair. That's probably why that's there, isn't it? So this is a 1 5 pair, which means these are a 2 7 pair. That's a 2 7 pair. Is that definitely right, or have I got my Sudoku wrong? Feels right. So that seems to say this is a 4, which means that's a 7, that's a 7, that's a 2, and that's a 2, and that all sort of gets unwound in a very beautiful way. That was weird. Okay, so there's a 7 over here now. These squares that we've got left to place in this box are 3, 4, and 9. That's a naked single 9, which means that's a 9. This is a 3, 4. Oh, we don't get a 3 in the corner. This 4 stopped it. We get a 3 here. So that stops that being a 3, I suppose. That one can't be a 3 either. And we 5 here means this is a 1, so that's a 5. So that's a 3. That's done our chocolate teapot. That's a 1. That's a 5. Okay, this square here can't be 9 anymore. So this is a and that can't be 7. So that's 3 and 7. These squares are 5 and 9, which we now know the order of. So it feels like it's on the right track now. 1, 2, and 4 into this row. May not be quite doable yet, but we'll pencil mark it up. These squares are 7 and something. 2 and 7, I think. Is that resolved? I feel like that must be resolved. But apparently not. That square is 2 or 7. So this is a 2 7 pair. Right, that's good. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 7. Which means that's 2, that's 7, that's 7. These are a 1 4. Oh, a 1 4 pair I was going to say. So these don't have 1 in them. Or 7. So that's 9. That's got to be 3. 9 is a naked single in box 9. We need 1 and 5. Oh, which sort of mirrors what we've got going on in box 7 there. Okay, this now, I feel like we're near, we're close, aren't we now? We've got 2 and 8 to put in. Oh. That's annoying. Okay, so something, maybe this column, 1, 5 and 7. So that's a naked single. That's exactly what we needed. 5 5 1 1 5 1 4 4 2 8 and 5. So that's a naked single. That's an 8. 8 8 2 2 5. 8 comes in up here, and we still need 7 and 9. So 7 goes here and 9 goes here, and that is an absolute masterpiece. Arctan, what a debut. Let's see if it's right. Yes. Solve counter 8 in 57 days. Wow. Wow. I mean, that deserves so many plaudits. That is just a wonderful Sudoku puzzle. Another of my, I mean, the last few weeks we have featured some incredible puzzles, but that's right up there in terms of my appreciation and enjoyment of it, because it's so cool that it's so weird. First of all, it's beautiful that you can immediately say what the circles are. It's not because you have to think about why, but then it's amazing. It's amazing that you compare them up, and then it's quite amazing that they resolve the grid uniquely with just two tiny little arrows for disambiguation and one given digit. I mean, that's been constructed with a magnificent amount of thought. I loved that. Absolutely brilliant. Let me know in the comments how you got on with it. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.